Guys, ch.1226 here, and today I'm reading Chains, chapter 4 and 5. Yay! So the chapter starts off on Jack's point of view, and it also starts off with a flashback. Yes, I did read a little into the chapter, but more like the whole chapter 4, because usually when I read, I have to re-see things, so I think knowing some of the parts and just reading it before actually to you guys will help. So let's see how good I do. Numbness filled his mind as he lay sprawled on the floor, his scalpel laying just out of his limp reach, a syringe in the side of his neck, filling him with numbness. His own tool turned against him. How ironic. A shadow loomed over him as his intended victim stared down at him. His mouth curled into a somewhat maniac smile as he picked up the syringe to remove it from Jack's range. "Don't worry," he cooed, kneeling by Jack with a crazy smile. Crazy. This man was crazy. As Jack's consciousness faded, he faintly heard the man say, "I won't hurt you. You'll be my pet. My very special pet." That's the end of the flashback. Jack smirked at the daughter of the man who had held him hostage for so long, savoring the look of fear on her face as he held her chin. Fear was such a wonderful emotion. It made his blood race. His heart pounded with excitement. Seeing the raw terror on people's face, in people's eyes as they helplessly watched him slowly cut into them with one of his favorite parts of hunting. It's been so long since he'd last seen that look, and to finally see it again in Aisha's dark blue orbs gave him a much-needed sense of power after spending so long feeling powerless. He had no intention of harming Aisha, though. She had saved him after all. Even if she hadn't been the one to kill his captor, she had been the one to release him from his restraints. She could have easily never entered the basement and just left, leaving him there until he died of starvation. Right now, she was probably regretting that decision. "Do you think you can answer a few questions?" he asked with a sweet smile, fully aware of the strings of flesh and muscle still clung to his shark-like teeth. The fear in her eyes, so sweet, so delicious looking. She opened her mouth and no word came out, obviously too afraid to speak, so instead she nodded. "Good." Jack released her chin, and her head limply fell forward as he stepped back to give her some space. Interrogating people was a rather tricky process. It required just the right amount of fear so they would answer honestly, but not just agree to avoid punishment. Based on the look on her face, he should be fine to start now. I'll start with a simple one. What is that man's name? Buddy Walker. Buddy? That man was no buddy of his, or hers. Jack thought and glanced at the bandages. Is that his real name? I think so. At least that's he said it was, I think. Alright, he said, deciding not to press any further. It didn't really matter anyway. If she called him buddy, it was probably his preliminary monarch was enough for him. What's your relation with him? She paused, trying to find the right words. He was kind of an uncle. Wait, let me say that. He was kind of like my uncle. He took care of me since I was a kid, and she suddenly stopped, looking at him in horror. The look on her face was clearly portrayed her thoughts. I'm not interested in getting revenge on you for his actions, Jack told her offhandedly. I wish I'd been the one to kill him, but he's dead, and I got a good meal, so I'm satisfied. Meal? Jack abruptly leaned into her face again, with a huge smile making her yelp and scoot back. Organs, he purred. Lovely, tasty organs. Kidneys are so delicious, but any organ will do. They're also tasty. The fresher, the better. The color drained from her face as he licked his lips for emphasis. Too shocked to even shake, he put it away in satisfaction. Moving on, exactly where is this place? She didn't respond right away, making his mouth fade. Aisha, don't make me ask again. The mountains, she blurted. I don't know the name off the top of my head. I mean, it's not a major mountain or anything, and I don't know if it has a name, but tears streamed down her cheeks as she began rambling, making him sigh. Looking like he'd gone a little too far. Aisha. Her rambling abruptly halted as she winced at his voice, slowly raising her head to look at him fearfully. His earlier sadistic smile now gone, his expression much calmer. Do you at least know the name of the nearest town or city? Nearest? She told, frowning as she fell into thought. I think Houston? Jack tapped his chin thoughtfully. Houston. The name was familiar. He was relatively sure that was near the town where he'd made his hideout. I assume that means we're in Colorado. Also, I do not live in Colorado. I just thought of it. Alright, back to the story. He asked to be sure after a moment she nodded. In that case, it shouldn't be too far to get to his home. The thought of finally going back filled him with a sense of bliss. It had been so long since he'd at least been in his own home, slept in his own bed, or any bed for that matter. What's the date? Once again, she replied with silence, making him frown. Aisha? I'm not sure. I mean, I don't really need to use the calendar too much or anything, but I don't know how long I was out. A few hours, Jack replied. Wait a second. Aisha gave a little start and looked at him in surprise. But after a moment, she nodded slowly. Oh, okay then. I think, June 22nd? Maybe, or the 23rd? I know it's in June 20-something. Jack nodded thoughtfully as he considered this. The specific day didn't matter. It was just that it was late June. He didn't really keep track of calendars either, but he relatively certain that it had been March or April when he had been captured. Spring was already past while he was stuck chained in the basement, kept as a pet of a madman. Oh God. Right. My mouth is really dry still. As he thought about this, he suddenly realized that Aisha was looking at him. Sweat beaded her forehead, and he could faintly hear the chains attached to her ankles rattling as her body shook. Oh, the fear in her eyes was so delicious. You're doing very good so far, Aisha, he commented, giving her a reassuring smile. I'm almost done. I just have one more question. Think you can handle that? Shaking her head, nodding, she gave a small, give me a second. Shaking, she gave a small, feeble nod. He smiled at her softly. Good. Now then, is there anyone else here? At this question, the girl's body suddenly tensed and her eyes widened. Her silence was enough. No, they were alone. However, Jack still wanted her to say it herself. So he pressed, well? Wait a second. No, she ended, her voice barely audible and cracking. There was no one else here. No one around to save her except her dear buddy, who is now a corpse. Poor little girl. All alone in the middle of nowhere with a monster. She knew admitting it would seal her fate, confirming that there was no one who could save her or harm Jack, and Jack knew it too. Tears started to well up in her eyes as she looked down at her lap, gripping the blanket tightly as she fought off the urge to cry. All color was gone from her face. At this point, so filled with fear that she didn't even shake anymore. However, Jack was satisfied for the time being. That should do for now, Jack said, replacing his mask over the lower half of his face. No need to intimidate her anymore. He could cover his teeth. Would you like any food? The question caught her by surprise, blinking at him a few times. What? Would you like some food? He repeated the offer slowly, placing emphasis on each word. She just stared at him, clearly in shock at the offer. Sure? She stuttered, color slowly returning to her face. Fine. I'll be back in a little bit. He walked towards the door and paused, glancing back at her. Oh, and Aisha? Yeah? She stuttered, looking at him fearfully. Don't go anywhere. But at that, he closed the door and headed to the kitchen, smirking to himself. Food much? Just kidding. But he teased her at the end. It's not like she can go anywhere. She's stuck. Her feet were shackled to the bed. It's like, don't be mean. Reader's point of view. Also, this is now in chapter 5. Alright. I sat on the bed with the blankets pulled over my shoulders as I hugged my knees to my chest. A million thoughts running through my mind at once. he ate organs. The claws, sharp teeth, gray skin already proved the man was a human, but the little tidbit of information was still a bit to process. Remember the strings of flesh hanging from his teeth made me shudder. Where had he gotten them? Had he eaten? No, more importantly, what had he been eaten before this? If I assumed he was a human, then his diet might consist only of organs. How long had he been here? My mind conjured up images of Buddy going on his weekly shopping trip into town, stuffing an extra cooler in the back of the truck. Images flashed in my mind of the back seat. Now seemingly to highlight a hidden hunting rifle on the floor. I felt the color drain from my face and quickly leaned over the side of the bed just in time to vomit. At this point, I've already vomited most of the food I've eaten, so I found myself spitting out stomach acid instead of food chunks. Just staring at it made me feel even queasier. The door suddenly opened again, and I raised my head to see the masked monster known as Eyeless Jack standing in the doorway, holding a plate with a sandwich and a glass of water. I didn't see his expression under the mask, but I imaged it must be surprised based on the way he glanced between me and the floor. After a second, he sighed and set the plain glass on my nightstand, taking care to step around the fresh puddle of stomach acid on the floor. You're a bit high maintenance, aren't you? He muttered, shaking his head. Why are you cleaning supplies? The closet towards the end of the hall, I replied meekly, wiping my mouth and taking a giant gulp of the water and attempting to wash away the rigid taste of vomit. He grumbled something under his breath as he left, returning a minute later with the necessary cleaning supplies. I just watched awkwardly as he cleaned it up. Why is he cleaning it? What's your password? He suddenly asked, snapping me away from my thoughts. What? The password for your laptop. His tone was a bit impatient, making me flinch. Oh, it's MNC-444. I replied, wondering what he needed it for. All lowercase. MNC? He repeated, casting me what I assumed was a curious glance. It's short for mac and cheese. I mumbled between my face turned. What? Turned red. He gave a small nod and turned his attention to cleaning, casting a glance at the sandwich once he finished. Am I going to eat? I'm not too hungry anymore. I'll leave it for now. With that said, he collected the glass and left me alone once more. Jack's point of view. Come on, Jack muttered as he hunched over the laptop. MNC-444. The password. Pressing enter. Oh, what? The login box transformed into a loading bar on the desktop appeared on his screen making him grin. Finally. He went straight to browser, quickly going to search the engine entering mountains by Pleasanton into the search bar. Several results popped up, and he checked the first few links before determining the basic location. It didn't take too long to figure out exactly where they were, using the address on the mailbox as a point reference. As he found a few road maps and printed them off before going to the bedroom belonging to the man known as Buddy. The man said permeated the room, making Jack's nostrils flare as he recalled the long days and nights locked in the basement. His chest felt rather tight as he stood there, the stench conjuring rather unpleasant memories. Now isn't the time for that, though. Shaking his head, he entered and beginning to search. A brief glance at the room earlier and turned to the faint traces of Jack's own scent. After reading through some drawers, he located his tools, making him grin as he opened the small pack. Right away, a small metal blade caught his attention. He gingerly removed it as if it was the greatest treasure in the world. Ah, his lovely scalpel. If he were deaf, he'd probably would have removed his mask to kill. Sorry, can't laughing. Cuddled the tool against his face, but he wasn't Jeff. He was Jack. I still think that's funny. Wait a second. So he just smiled as he removed one of his gloves, surrounding his finger along the blade, testing its sharpness. Still sharp as the day he last held it, he noticed with satisfaction. Swiping the scalpel through the air a few times, he frowned as he noticed movements were a little off. He was out of practice and still hadn't fully recovered his strength. He'd have to work on that later. Placing his glove, he gathered his tools and left the room to retrieve the newly printed maps. He uncapped the marker and poured over them for a few minutes. What? First, making them certain location, then several other landmarks. Returning to the laptop, search some more stuff. He waited until night fell before closing and stuffing it into a case, walking to Aisha's room and flinging the door open. She looked at him in surprise, holding a freshly empty plant on her lap. Don't make any sudden movements, he warned as he yanked the blankets off of her. Tossing them to the floor, her body tensed as he moved the key from his hoodie and unlocked the shackles on her ankles, freeing them, tossing a duffel bag at her feet. He continued, gather some clothes, only essentials. What? Flipping the scalpel into his hand, yeah, honestly, and don't try anything. She stared at the dull metal tool with wide eyes before quickly scrambling off the bed and going to her dresser, trying to keep her pace slow to avoid agitating him. Jack couldn't help smiling as he watched her panicked movements, savoring her obvious fear. He watched closely as she opened the drawers and began pulling things out. What? Putting each article of clothing from where he stood to make sure she didn't try to sneakily insert a weapon. Soon the bag was full and she stopped, standing awkwardly. Jack pointed to the bed. Sit. Obediently, she sat on the mattress. As hard as he produced a roll of duct tape from his pockets, pulling the end as he slowly approached her. Second. Reader's point of view. Shakily, I walked down the hall, prodded forward by the tip of a scalpel poking into my back. I didn't think that was exactly how they were supposed to be used, but I had no doubts that he would easily slit it across my throat in a moment's notice. My wrists were bound in front of me, and each step I could hear the jingling of shackles stuffed in the duffel bag carrying my clothes that Jack currently carried, slung over his shoulder, making my muscles tense. I was not very comfortable with the situation, for rather obvious reasons. As we passed an open doorway, I got a glimpse of Red and turned my head slightly to catch sight of Buddy's legs. For a second, I thought I saw something pale and string on one of his legs, but before I could get a good look, Jack prodded my back a little with the scalpel on his to keep going. Whimpering, I obeyed quickly, turning away and walking forward. We ended up at the front door as he removed the scalpel from my back in order to open it. I caught my breath as I saw splatters of dried blood leading from the car. My eyes widened as the sob caught in the back of my throat. Patiently, Jack grabbed my arm and dragged me along the bloody trail towards the car, flinging the passenger door open and forcing me inside. "Don't move," he ordered, slamming the door and returning to the house. I felt tears all up in my eyes as I stared at the driver's seat, chasing a large black, dark brown ring visible on the dip of the cushion. Obviously, it had been cleaned recently, but not completely. My stomach lurched as I imaged Buddy sitting there, his own blood pooling around him. I was still staring at it when the door suddenly opened and Jack climbed in. Sitting down on top of the ring, he was carrying my laptop case and some papers. He tossed the case in the back, making me cringe slightly. Terrified for my life. Or not, my laptop was so precious to me. Same here. Suddenly he reached towards me. I went squeezing my shut, only for him to grab the seatbelt on my opposite side, buckling me in. So the organ-eating monster cares about driving safely. Swell. He buckled himself and before turning the blood-covered key in the ignition. As the truck hummed and vibrated, I turned to look at my house, tears welling in my eyes as I suddenly realized the full weight of what was happening. This house that had been my home for almost as long as I could have remembered, since I was 6 or 7. It had been my entire world. Buddy, my only companion, and now I'm leaving. Forever. Sorry. I saw Conway through as the house vanished as from our view and it escaped. I began crying and sobbing hysterically, rubbing my eyes with my bounded hands. At that point, I didn't care if Jack might get mad. I just needed to cry. Only now I fully understand that there was no way of going back to my idyllic life was forever gone. Need more water. Alright. Jack's point of view. As they pulled away, she began crying, and Jack cast her a glance from out of the corner of his eye. well, eye sockets. Before focusing on the road once again, he didn't bother telling her to shut up or be quiet. He knew that there was no point. This would be stressful. This would be a stressful situation for anyone. And all that had happened to her over the past 2 days. Her entire life had been shattered overnight, and quite literally. So he let her cry. He let her bawl and sob and hiccup and wail, not saying a single word, just focus on the road. He felt a strange pang of remorse as he listened, though. His grip tightened around the steering wheel. Focus, Jack, he told himself. It's been years since he last touched the wheel of a car, and they had a long drive ahead of them. It was time to get out of that place. Alright guys, that's the end of the chapter. Looks like it took me longer to read. The chapters are getting longer. To me they are. The fact that my mouth was really, really dry today doesn't help. So, oh gosh, alright. So guys, I will be reading chapter 6 and 7 tomorrow. But, of course, not today, because I need to get this dry mouth thing under control. Anyway, guys, Aisha Chan out.